Hello guys, it's Luke at Luke's APS, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do tide marks. Right guys, so tide marks. On the ocean or even along riversides and things like that, you get where the water's seeping up this bank where it's damp. All right, a lot of people see me like that with airbrushes or even just painting it a little bit darker on the side. And sometimes if you've used, say, like what I use, like all the grouts and everything, you do get some seepage. With epoxy, you don't get that much, so you can't rely on that. So I've put this video together to show you a really nice way of doing it to get that graduation up the beach, so you have it thin at the top and then it gets darker towards closer to the water, and then when we put all the waves and everything on, it makes more sense. Alright guys, so let's get the camera down, show you how we're going to do it, and then I'll see you at the end. Catch you in a bit. Right, so what I'm going to be using for this demonstration is we're going to be using some Sepia wash from Games Workshop. Reason I'm using this is because it's like a reddy brown. Alright, it's not overpowering. I think if you used Agrax it might be a bit too brown, but you could always water it down a bit more. What I'm going to do is add quite a liberal amount of water to that. There's not a lot of wash in there and needs quite a bit of water. We are making it quite thin. Now when you first start to put this on, as you'll see in a second, it goes very dark. All right, that's the sand, the soil and tile grouts and the pigments and everything that I've used in that. They're getting wet again. That's not how it's going to dry. As this dries, it will really lighten up, and it'll only leave the pigment behind. That's the only scary thing about this step, is it does make you think, oh, have I made it a bit too dark? You can sort of see the transparency when you're putting it on. You can sort of see where the colour is. It's so hard to describe. It's one of them, if you are really nervous about doing this, do a test piece first and you'll understand what I mean. But all you've got to do is the width of the brush, which this one is I think it's an 1.5 inch width brush that I got from the works, a couple of them for a couple of quid, and I'm just putting it on the width of that brush. I brush it along and soak up any of like the really strong excess that's dropped down near the weight, down near the resin where it's bumped up a little bit, and then taper it off towards the end where you don't want it. Okay guys, once that's down, what we're going to do is we're going to dry that out. Now you can use an air dryer, heat gun, flame if you really want to, but just dry that out or leave it to dry. It's entirely up to you. Once that's nearly dry, as you can see, it's still damp under it. It's dry to touch, but the sand itself is still damp. Okay, that will dry a lot clearer as it properly dries over the course of a day or so. But what we do now is we mix more water into that wash, make it really runny this time, and using the same width brush, and then we're going to brush it along the bottom and halfway in the sand that's not been touched. Okay, so what's that's going to give you, because you've watered down the wash again, it's like you're like building up glazes. Okay, so you'll have a dark area at the bottom, and because there's less pigment on the second layer, that will then be more transparent than the bottom layer that's had an extra coat on top, and so on. And what we're doing is we're building this up. So the next step, we'll add even more water, and then we'll do it again. Okay guys, so you just repeat this till you're happy with the overall look. Just make sure that you dry it in between. Stipple the edges like I'm doing there, just to break it up so it's not like a perfect line. You're just trying to simulate a strong current on your first dark area. Your next lighter area is where it's pulling, you know, where the water's pulling it, going a bit further forward but not as much, or it's drying because it's not reaching there anymore. And then the last run will literally just be the same. Okay, it's just the same step again, but you pull it slightly over the second one and not into the dry sand, which gives you that really nice graduation. But as I'm doing here, you can use a heat gun to really speed up the process, and you can see how much lighter it goes. It's the best thing about this step. Is you can put your mind at ease that you're not putting too much on. And the best thing about this, if you do it and you think, oh, it could do have been a bit stronger, just repeat the process again and keep building it up. Right, as you can see, this is not completely dry yet, but it gives you an idea of how it's setting. Okay, you've got the top that's quite transparent, you've got the bottom that's quite dark. Now the really dark bit isn't completely dry yet. The layer that you can see next to that is what's dry, okay, next to the right hand side where I'm coming back in with a brush. There's a few bits that are a bit lighter that I want to be darker, so I'm using this time to fix any sort of areas that have not took on as much pigment, and just sort of darken up and richen up that area at the bottom near where the water is, where I'm putting it on there. Do this, make sure you tidy it up and neat it up, because you can go back and do it later, but I am only using the really thin down. I've not added any more wash or anything else. I'm using the same bit that I've poured out. So it's just to add a bit more colour to the bit that looks a bit paler, that's all. As you can see, as it dries, it looks pretty cool. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to add a gloss varnish. This is nearly dry. There's some still dark patches that will eventually clear up. But what we're doing with the gloss varnish is, one, it will take it all down just a little bit more, not too much. We're adding a bit of water to that, but it'll take it all down and also help blend it all together. And it also had a glint to the sand, so when you look at this, it'll look wet. We're trying to achieve a wet look. And then when we put the water effects on in the next video on Christmas Day, that will then show you, it'll simulate all the water and everything else over the top, so you get a little bit of a satin wet sand, and then the waves over that are going to be glossy and everything else. It just looks awesome. Alright guys, so apply this gloss varnish watered down so it goes on just like your washers, and just follow the tide marks, okay, and just cover it all up. You don't have to be very neat with this. If you overlap onto a bit that hasn't got a tide mark on, it doesn't matter, it will just help add to the effect overall. And just brush that onto completely, and just leave that to dry over the course of an afternoon, and the next day it should look brilliant. Now just to clean up that gloss varnish, all you're going to do is get yourself a bit of blue roll, a bit of kitchen roll or whatever, and then just soak up the excess. Now you don't have to do this step at all, guys, okay, because obviously the bit near the water, it can be a bit darker because we're going to be putting waves and everything over. I've just done it because it was the first time I was doing it and I wanted to make sure it was as nice as it could be. But there's the pictures of it nearly dry. In the next video when I show you how to do the water effects, I'll show you it completely dry. So guys, simple as that. It is a very simple process. It's just a matter of just watering them washes down, getting them on, and that gloss varnish at the end just ties it all together, makes everything get a slight shimmer. It's because you're watering it down and it is getting quite absorbed into the grouts and the earth and everything else that's on there. It does give it like a satin finish, so it doesn't overpower it. You just get a sort of glint every now and again, which looks quite nice. And when we put the waves on that, pulling back, like the waves pulling back down the beach and everything, it starts to add an element of realism that you don't usually see in models. You do on some of the really top-end dios, as in there's some really good stuff out there. But in Wargaming terrain, people don't usually go that extra step. And just to show you how simple it actually is, it doesn't really take much time. You could do a step, let it dry and everything else, but there's no need. Do you know what I mean? Air dryer it, get your next one on. Air dryer it, get your next one on. And it's about knocking it out as quick as you can for Wargames terrain. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the field, sort of speech. Alright guys, if you like this video, all the normal stuff, like, sharing, subscribing. If you want to buy any of my Scenics range, whether it be static grasses, whether it be glues, whether it be my new base ready ranges that are doing amazingly well at the moment, right through to just general Scenics like the modelling compound and everything else, they're all on there. Alright guys, so check the links below or press the doobly-doo button wherever it pops up and it'll take you straight to the shop. Thanks for all your support guys, and I'll see you on Christmas Day.